Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. In this updates video, we're going to be talking about a few new things that have come forth to Truly Holistic. The first one I want to talk about is the Ascendence Healing system. At Truly Holistic, we already have some healing systems that we've created that empowers the individual to become the healer, which is the intuitively aligned system, right? For people that want to learn how to align their necks and backs, assess their posture and correct posture corrections, such as, curvature issues and all sorts of things that go with that. We also provide a system called the broadcasting system, which we quite often call a transitional system, in regards where we take the knowledge from the physical world and we then apply it energetically as the creator, right? Kind of walking in that role that we were always supposed to be, our purpose in being here and creating reality, through using our superpowers of attention and intention, providing anything of sustenance that we may require, whether that's vitamins, whether that's minerals, whether that's hormones, whether that's essential oils, whether that's digestive enzymes, you name it, crystal energies. It's amazing what you are capable of, and that system is very much about that, enlightening and empowering your process or your journey into becoming the healer in regards to those sorts of things. We also have the color therapy kit, where we use coils in association with embroidery cottons that come all different colors. So obviously that is the spectrum of light, right, in regards to the colors. And then that system is very simple in its approach. It's just by listening, feeling into the body, right? The body has always been your ally. It's just sadly, through a mind thought process, we've kind of misinterpreted and misunderstood through complexity in regards to what the body's role is and what it's actually trying to provide us. So all you have to do is listen into the symptoms, the expression and communication of the body, and then kind of match it with the color or the colors you require. It's a very simple healing system. Very close to my heart. A lot of those are actually the intuitively alignment one is in regards to assisting my neck and back journey in regards to neck and back pain, but also the color therapy because color therapy kit, because my grandmother was a color therapist, and that's how I got started in the energy game as well. So this Ascendance Healing system is the main system, right? It's kind of at the centerpiece. I use the broadcasting system. I use the intuitively aligned system within session work with clients. But in my main system, that really is an embodiment of my journey as a healer or intuitive, but also my reality coaching kind of input goes into this healing system. Because really, I feel like, humans generally, as we live out life, we're essentially living or playing a game without really knowing the rules. And whenever we decide to play chess, right, or a board game, our first step is to understand and know the rules before we play that game. So for me, a big aspect of my journey, especially my ascendance, and really taking to Truly Holistic to where it is today, including all the videos that I've placed out there, 450 plus videos on my YouTube channel. You can see the growth and involvement over a number of years in regards to that. And a big part of that is understanding reality, right? So that therefore we know the rules of the game as we then go about playing it, right? So we don't get tripped up, we don't get fallen over, we don't get kind of caught down the rabbit holes, we don't get caught in the booby tracks of what life is all about and what reality is all about, and also our role within reality as a creator of reality, not just merely observers or participants. So all of that is all in this Ascendance Healing chart system that is now on my website, on my product store to purchase. So very exciting, right? Within that chart system, you only get 14 charts, only 14 charts. And why it's so, because I was one of the first students of the True Quantum Healing course, and in that system there's over 200 charts. And what I came to find is that we don't necessarily need to focus on all the superficial stuff, because what I've come to find is we just didn't understand the rules of the game, right? Understanding reality. And hence we kind of continued this perception deception of the way of perceiving things at a human level, which is a level of knowing that is very limited, right? As the human, we generally follow what we see and couple it up with a thought process. And what we see is 0.0035% of what can be seen. And our thought process is generally reliant on the way that we've been taught to perceive reality. And perhaps what we've been taught to perceive reality has been in a limited form, which I've come to find out, yes, it has been. And so I've learned ways of jumping over those walls, right, over those limitations. That is very much more heart feel based. It's more intuitively based. And now that system, we'll be able to remove the superficial means and just go straight to the root, the origin of everything. And funnily enough, it's really through the means of simplifying everything. We've found that through mind and thought, we've overcomplicated everything, when really a lot of the answers are just simple and in front of us. But because we are being taught to become thinkers as humans, we tend to overlook those little things which are at the center or core of everything. So within this Ascendance Healing system, you get charts such as, I've got my charts here. You get a conversation chart, which is a letter chart. That's used a lot. So I guess you could see this system is a very advanced dowsing system. You've got to be quite proficient in using a letter chart or conversation chart or alphabet chart. My dowsing has evolved over the years where, for a long time now I haven't used any pendulum. And I can get, answers very quickly. Anybody that's had healing sessions with me, whether that's through Ascendance Healing or reality coaching sessions, will understand that a lot of information comes through me very quickly in regards to the dowsing. And that's because I present a space or a state or a pathway that doesn't allow interference to get involved. And one of the biggest interferences of all is ourselves, especially when we are using a mind thought pathway. So intuitive processes become very quickly very efficient. We get answers very quickly. You get a diagnostic chart, which kind of leads you on to, finding out what's going on and hence the diagnostics of what we're then going to work on. So, and that's a number of things where we go to, it's kind of homepage that takes us to a number of the charts, the 11 or 12 charts in it. We have a 369 chart, which is based on, what Nikola Tesla mentioned in regards to 369. If you understand 369, you have the keys to the universe. So, as I say, this is very much in line with understanding and knowing what reality is all about, right? Which is a big component of this healing system. And we see that the 369 is at 9, it's your expansion as infinite consciousness. And really ascension is facilitating that expansion that you already have. Because the thing is, at your core as an infinite consciousness, there's no limitations applied to it. But for some reason, as the human, we feel like we're limited everywhere we look, everything we do. And a part of that is the human identity and what kind of shaped and formed that curriculum in becoming a human, which was definitely an intelligence that comes through mind and through thought, which we've come to find is not you. Your facilitation of more of you is through the heart and through feel, not through thought. So to get that there is obviously through the heart, and we find that the 6 is very much that the heart is a gateway, a portal that needs to be open to facilitate more of you to be levitated and represented here. And I always love the analogy of seeing it a bit like an aquifer deep within the earth that's levitating up to the surface to become a spring, right? So your infinite consciousness exists within you on a quantum path, and that is facilitated through the heart, and that needs to levitate up to the surface, which is the heart, to be represented and presented here. So the 3 is then, how do we put the rubber to the road, right? How do we then use this expansion to form, convert that into frequencies, into formed reality, which is matter. And a big part of that is your place of attention, and your place of attention involves 3 eyes, right? The 2 eyes to see and the 1 eye to know. And sadly, because the human is programmed to follow what it sees, we really follow what we just see with the duality eyes, as I say, is such a limited aspect of it, not even close to 1% of what can be seen. It's essentially like looking through life through a keyhole, and that's being very generous. And we need this eye here, which quite often in science is called the pineal gland, to kind of fill the gaps, right, that these eyes can't take us to. So that's the 369. There's a chart called the interface chart as well, where we see that, when I go into my charts, my soul, my consciousness won't call this a body. We must understand that this body, why it's labeled that way, is through how the human perceives reality through, that limited 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum of light. We know that, the Klein bottle is a great example of this. This is this bottle that they depict as in a fourth dimensional state of a bottle, which shows that this bottle has no volume to it, which is incredible when you really think about it, because when we perceive a bottle, we look at a bottle as something that contains something, which means it has volume. So with the Klein bottle, it has no volume because there's no inside and there's no outside. There's no differentiation between those two, which would mean that if we were able to look at this body outside of that sliver of reality that our eyes are only limited to, we wouldn't be able to notice the difference between the inside and the outside of our body. So you can see how really there's a lot more to what this body really is, right? And it's funny that our medical system and how we approach illnesses and problems is very much dependent on the way that we perceive it in this physical form, when really that's not even close to 1% representation of what it actually is. So my consciousness calls it an interface, and the term interface often used with our iPhones, with computers. So really the body is more like a computer. So this chart enables you to see it as such, okay, and is very, very helpful and relevant to that. You think of things like viruses, right? Where do we see? We see biological viruses, but where else do we see them? We see them in regards to programming and software on computers or interfaces. We have also a chart called the auric field chart, which is a great diagnostic chart, because the auric field is a measure of how expansive we are, right? How much we are connected into our expansion. So the more we facilitate that infinite reservoir of consciousness, which is energy that exists within us, and if we have that heart open, we facilitate more of it here. So that will mean our auric field expands out. The more diminished we see our auric field, that usually means that we haven't got our heart open, which is the facilitation of more of ourselves, and we're more in the mind and in thought. There's another diagnostic chart we use quite a bit, which is the flow percentage chart, which again, we find that the body and all its components is more in a wellness and vitality state when everything's flowing. And we see that problems are due to either a congestion, obstruction, or blockage to flow. So that's a very important chart too. See, you can tell that it's a very simple, the charts, but very effective, because we just get straight to the origin and the root of the very thing. There's the next chart is a little bit more comprehensive, which is the intention chart, where it will guide you into a certain aspect that you need to work on, whether that's working with the microbes, whether that's working on correcting flow, whether that's working on removing AI, artificial intelligence that's facilitated through the mind, addressing trauma, working on that biomechanical side of that person's physiology, which is using the intuitively alignment system. We've got a chart that's called the gamma duality chart. We go to that. So there's a number of things that we can do. Work on the 3 principles, which is trying to enable, allow, surrender, and forgiveness to that body, which what they all have in common is they provide flow. So it's very important. We also have a couple of charts which are called the path charts, which kind of lead you on a path. It's a question that leads you in a direction that's going to give you the answers of what you need to work on. So they're really good charts as well. We have a healing chart, which is mainly just, will give you a specific intention that you're going to use to apply a healing effect to that person. and that might be to provide levity to that person, or to provide one of those three principles of forgiveness or allow or surrender. It may also recommend you use another part of another chart or healing system, such as the intuitively alignment system or the broadcasting system. So even though this is the main chart system, as I say, the two satellite kind of systems that we apply in any healing session we have at Truly Holistic is also the broadcasting system and the intuitively alignment system, which are already on my product store on my website. So they work really well with this system. We also have a chart called the Sustenance of Energy chart. So we look at all the areas in our life, components of our life, where we're either gaining energy from or we're leaking energy out to. And what we kind of see is that, when we come back to the 369, we've got this massive reservoir of energy, right? Infinite amount of energy that exists within us that we just need to tap into. And what facilitates that is an open heart, right? And then what applies it to our creation, right? Our reality, that's kind of that empty canvas that we want to splash or imprint our effect on, is the 3, right? So between the 6 and the 3 is the body. The body is kind of that middleman. And so often we look at this aspect of our ability to hold our energy, because we've got to understand that our body knows what to do. It already is inbuilt to know how to rejuvenate, regenerate, and heal itself. It just requires a constant supply of the material to allow that process, and that's a lot of energy. So we look at that aspect with this particular chart in relevance to that, where we look at, hey, where's this person perhaps leaking a lot of energy out? And that might be through a relationship. That might be through where they're placing their attention. That might be through a family matter or work issue. And all that is part of the sustenance of energy chart we look at. There's a chart called the Game of Duality process chart. So it gives all 4 steps of the Game of Duality, where the human is kind of manipulated through a perception deception to be controlled and manipulated. And there's 4 steps in that. And so that will give you a bit of an understanding of perhaps empowering that individual and how they could go about not kind of giving up their energy for something to hold power over them. So that's essentially the main charts in the system. And again, that chart system, the Ascendence Healing chart system, is currently on my product store that you can purchase now on my website, which is trulyholistic.net/. Let me start again. trulyholistic.net/products/. I'll put a description. I'll put the link in the description. Within that system, you also get 4 sessions with me where we will go over a video call over every chart, over every understanding and principle that is part of that system. Because as I say, it's not just simply getting in there using dowsing charts, it's also having a greater sense of an understanding of reality itself, which we will talk about within those sessions that are part of what you pay for in regards to getting the Ascendance Healing system. So let's go to the next thing. Now the next thing is we've got a new range of products. Really excited about these ones. It's called the Infinity and Eternity range. And what we have of those 2 products of that range, we have bangles and we have finger rings, which is a first for us. We've never done finger rings before. So I'm just going to get those out. So these are the finger rings here that you'll get. So you get 3 rings, okay? 3 different energetics, okay? So the energetics that you get that work so well together, we've just found that they work really well together. And I was told to make, originally I made the bangles, which are, that's them there, right? 3 rings, 3 bangles that you wear on your wrist. And I got told to use the Fire Infinity, which is the fire element, and then to use the Infinite Cubit ring that we have, which is, we use that currently in one of our spherical tools, which is really good for people wanting to expand their intention infinitely out, expand out. It's a broadcasting device. And then the third energetic was the Eternity Cubit, which we use for the element ether. Now, when I obviously then reflected on it, I was thinking, well, there's two particular aspects or words that are associated with all these three energetics, and that is infinity and eternity, which are pretty expansive, right? So when we put these together, we came to find that through the fire infinity energetic, the fire element, and the eternity cubit, which is the ether element, that is the most expansive energetics we know of at this point. That it goes beyond the source of you as a consciousness, right? So for anyone else that's seen some of my other videos, Truly Holistic has a map of your expansion. We call that the ascension map. And your expansion as infinite consciousness is depicted in that map as a tree, right? The branches, the foliage, the trunk, and then the roots of the tree is the source of your energy. So when we look at the fire element, the ether element, these energetics we're talking about, it's the soil that feeds the roots of the source of your consciousness. So they're very expansive energy. No one else provides products that go this far back in regards to expansion. So when you wear those products, it's trying to facilitate that expansion, just like I said with the Ascendence Healing system, that kind of reservoir or aquifer of energy within you, you're bringing to the surface to be present, represented here. So you bring that forth here, and then when we then bring in the infinite qubit, it enables to use that expansion and then broadcast that and tend that onto your reality, that empty canvas of your life, your reality, but out infinitely, right? So you can see how wonderful that the combination of those three energetics works so well. And I'm getting some really exciting downloads in regards to this, in regards to longevity, of being here a long time, to the point where it will become your decision when you decide to leave here, which is incredible, right? This is really opening doors in regards to this aspect of longevity. So at the moment, the two products that we have within that infinity eternity range is the bangles. So you get 3 rings that go over the wrist or the forearm. So they're quite big, right? So if I put them on, I haven't got big wrists, right? I'm not a big guy, so you can see there's quite a bit of leeway there in space. But you can just shift them up to the forearm, right? And wear them there. That's why we also came up with the other product range of the finger rings. Like, let's say you're somebody is quite small, right, and small wrists, and you don't like that aspect of them dangling on your wrist or having to push them up your arm. Then we have the option of the finger rings, right? The 3 finger rings, which are the same energetics, right? So we have one ring that holds the fire infinity, one that holds the eternity qubit, and one that holds the infinite qubit. And again, they work really well together. I'll show you here, right? So I can put them on the middle digit, the ring, and then right. So they fit really snugly on there, like so, right? So they are wonderful products. Very excited about, and they're available now on the product store as well at treeholistic.net/products under the Infinity and Eternity products. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is we've also made another option available where we're making really small tensor rings for the orgonite people out there, right? People that make orgonite, they like to quite often put tensor rings into their orgonite. So we now have a product range where we make 50 or 100 really small tensor rings that we just make with an 18 gauge wire, and we hammer them down. And this option enables you to order 50 or 100 of our tensor rings to any qubit measure that Truly Holistic facilitates. And for anybody that knows Truly Holistic, every qubit measure we facilitate is something very unique. You will not find them anywhere. And because these qubit measures came out of an extension of understanding reality and my journey in regards to a successful ascension, that all of these qubits have a particular purpose in regards to wellness, vitality, but also your ascension, your spirituality growth, and so on. So they all have a specific purpose that I can greatly detail in regards to what energetic, what qubit, and what it facilitates in its purpose. So we've now created that option where you can order 50 or 100 of these if you're really into orgonite making and would like to hold the energetics that Truly Holistic facilitates in your orgonite products. So that's also on the product store at trulyholistic.net/products. So what I want to do to finish this video is going back to the infinity and eternity range. Is just you want to use an analogy here in regards to the hourglass, because the hourglass is a symbol of the passing of time. All right, and what we've found about time is a human construct. It doesn't have to be the fabric of reality. It's become the fabric of reality, but from a human level of knowing. And it's presented a form of flow that is not innate to us as a consciousness. So, we quite often explore and try and enable people to understand that, we want to be as present as possible, right? Be in the now, the moment, which is quite often called the infinite now, right? And why it's called the infinite now is because it actually removes ourselves from linear time, how we perceive linear time, which means past, present, future. And what we've come to find, actually, time is actually, we perceive it as walking in a straight line, right, or linear, but really when we get stuck, when we kind of enable time to hold power over us, we get stuck in a loop, right, where we feel like, okay, we're walking ahead, we're getting ahead, but we're not. We're just going in an endless loop where we're not growing, we're not evolving, we're not ascending. And so coming back to that hourglass analogy, when we see an hourglass, right, and you see two chambers to that hourglass, right? You see a cross in the middle, but above the cross and below the cross is two chambers, right? And that's why what allows that sand to move from one chamber to the other, to show the passing of time. Now, when it's upright, the hourglass, right, like an 8, if we rounded the edges off, it would be an 8, right? Then we allow gravity to have its effect, which enables time, right, the human construct. What we've found with gravity, the Latin word for gravity means heaviness or heavy. And what we find with human when they are sick, unwell, everything's not working in their favor, right, in regards to ascension, we see everything that is a representational expression of that heaviness, whether that's a lack of clarity, right, heaviness in the head, confusion in the head, like the weight of the world on your shoulders, right, or pressure on your chest, like people get anxiety and panic attacks, heart attack, just generally lethargy that we don't feel well. It's a heaviness, right? So we know that gravity comes out of a pathway of processing our life through mind thought, right, which is not our innate guidance. Our innate guidance is heart feel, which provides levity instead of gravity. So we've come to find that definitely the mind, gravity, and time are all interconnected with each other, where when we remove ourselves from time, right, being fully present, self-aware in the moment, which is to be in the infinite now, we remove ourselves from that negative influence or impact of time. And that's more when we have our heart open, right? So, and we provide levity, right? Levity is to ascend up, right? So it's connected to the word to ascend, of ascension. So when we see that hourglass like that, when we shift the hourglass onto its side, we get the symbol infinity. And when we have it on its side, then gravity can no longer have its influence and effect on the passing of time, and the sand stays in both chambers, right? And also can sit within the middle cross component of that hourglass, which is the singularity. Now, the singularity for us is our heart, okay? See, the thing with the hourglass standing upright, and because of gravity and the mind and all that influence, the granules shift from one polarity to another, which is called duality, right? And because it passes through quickly, we never glimpse the singularity, right? We're talking about science here, where they want to glimpse the singularity, right? Where they talk about black holes, we want to know the singularity. Because singularity means the greater answers. It means answers, okay? Now, when we provide a state of neutrality, right, where we're not shifting from one polarity to another, right? So picture that hourglass on its side, where the sand is in both chambers at the same time. We present neutrality, which is balance, right? A state we call a state of being, which is enabling our own guide ourselves as the soul, as infinite consciousness, to be present and represented here. So this is very important in regards to our life, not only with our wellness and vitality, but our whole ascension spirituality path as well. And the products, especially this infinity and eternity range, is greatly going to enhance that aspect in regards to your life. So we'll leave it there. If you've got any questions, comment below. I'll be happy to answer them in regards to any of the products here, including the Ascendence Healing System, the Infinity and Eternity range, and also now the little tensor rings that we make bulk in regards to people that make orgonite. All those products are at trulyholistic.net/products/. Until next time, catch you later.